The morning sun rose over Seoul like any other day. People went to work. Children walked to school. Coffee shops filled with tired office workers. Nobody knew that in less than 1 hour, everything would change forever. Colonel Kung Ginho sat in his office at the airbase, reading reports from the night shift. He was a tall man, with sharp eyes and gray hair at his temples. 20 years in the Air Force had taught him to expect the unexpected, but nothing had prepared him for what came next. At exactly 9:14 in the morning, every alarm in the base screamed to life. Red lights flashed. Soldiers ran to their stations. Ginho grabbed his phone, but before he could dial, his screen went black, then white. Then it showed something that made his blood turn cold. Ships. Hundreds of ships. They hung in the sky above Earth like dark clouds made of metal. They were massive, each one larger than any building Ginho had ever seen. They blocked out the sun over entire cities. Across the world, the same scene repeated. In New York, people stopped in Times Square and looked up with open mouths. In Tokyo, trains stopped as passengers pressed against windows. In London, Moscow, Beijing, and every city on Earth, humanity looked at the sky and felt very, very small. Then the message came. Every screen on Earth, every radio, every phone played the same transmission. The voice was cold and mechanical, translated into every human language at once. Species of Earth, we are the Helix Dominion. Your planet now belongs to us. You will surrender all weapons. You will present your leaders for processing. Resistance is not logical. We have conquered 43 worlds. None have survived defiance. You have 6 hours to comply. This is your only warning. The transmission ended. Silence fell over the world. Then chaos erupted. Park Yuna was working at the Korea Astronomy and Space Science Institute when the ships arrived. She was young, barely 30, with messy hair and glasses that were always slightly crooked. Her specialty was radio signals from space. For years, she had searched for signs of alien life. Now alien life had found them. While others panicked, Yuna worked. Her fingers flew across her keyboard as she captured every signal the alien ships transmitted. She recorded their communications. She analyzed their frequencies. And she found something that made her hands shake. The aliens were talking to each other. Not encrypted, not hidden. They simply did not care if humans heard them. Why would they? To them, humans were nothing. Less than nothing, Yuna translated their words with growing horror. Class 7 primitive species, one alien said. No significant technology. No space capability. Standard harvest protocol? Weapons. Another asked. Chemical explosives. Projectile weapons. Nothing that can penetrate basic shielding. Estimated subjugation time. 6 hours. They were laughing. The aliens were actually laughing at humanity. Why? UNA picked up her phone and called the one person she knew could make a difference. Retired. General Lee Taiwu was fishing at a quiet lake when his phone rang. He was 68 years old, with a face like carved stone and eyes that had seen too many wars. He had led troops in conflicts around the world. He had buried friends and enemies alike. He had retired to find peace. Peace was over now, within 2 hours. Taiwu stood in an underground bunker with leaders from every major nation. Americans, Russians, Chinese, Europeans, all of them crowded around screens showing the alien fleet. They argued. They shouted. Some wanted to surrender. Others wanted to negotiate. Taiwu listened to Park Yuna's report on what she had discovered. The aliens thought humans were weak, primitive, easy prey. When the arguing stopped, Taiwu spoke. They came expecting livestock, he said, his voice quiet but firm. They are going to find wolves. The room fell silent. These creatures have never fought a species like us, Taiwu continued. They conquer worlds that have peace, worlds that forgot how to make war. But we never forgot. We have been fighting since we climbed down from the trees. Every nation in this room has armies, weapons, Soldiers who trained their whole lives for battle. We are not peaceful. We are not harmless. We are the most dangerous species on this planet because we have been killing each other for 10,000 years. He looked at each leader in turn. Today we stop fighting each other. Today we fight them. High above Earth, Commander Voran watched the planet with 3 eyes that showed no emotion. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and long fingers that clicked against his command chair. He had led 43 successful conquests. This one would be no different.
Ow.
Begin landing operations, he ordered. Send ground forces to major population centers. This will be finished by nightfall. The ships descended through the clouds. Thousands of soldiers in dark armor dropped toward the cities below. They carried weapons that could level buildings. They wore shields that could stop any human bullet. They expected no real resistance. The first dropships landed in Seoul, in New York, in Moscow. In Beijing, alien soldiers marched into the streets, their weapons raised. Their voices booming orders for surrender, and then something unexpected happened in Seoul. Colonel Kong Jin-ho stood on a rooftop with a radio in his hand. Below him, alien soldiers advanced through empty streets. The civilians had been evacuated. The city was quiet. Too quiet, Voran watched from orbit as his ground commander reported success. Easy progress. No resistance. Then Jin-ho spoke one word into his radio now. The streets exploded. Buildings collapsed onto alien formations. Buried charges detonated under their feet. Soldiers appeared from hidden positions and opened fire. It was not random. It was not panic. It was a trap planned in 2 hours and executed with perfect precision. Across the world, the same scene repeated. Humanity did not run. Humanity did not surrender. Humanity fought back with everything it had. Commander. Voran watched his casualty reports climb and felt something he had not felt in decades. Confusion, and in military bases across the planet. Something else was happening. Every nuclear weapon on Earth was being activated. Missiles rose on their launchers. Submarines surfaced and opened their tubes. Bombers took to the sky, but they were not aimed at each other. They were aimed up. Voran received the sensor. Report, and his gray skin turned pale. The primitives had atomics. Thousands of them. And every single one was now pointing at his fleet. The 6-hour deadline passed. Earth did not surrender. Instead, General Lee Tai-woo sent a message to the alien fleet. It was short. You made a mistake coming here. We do not surrender. We do not kneel. You wanted war. Now you have it. In orbit, Commander Voran realized for the first time that this conquest would not be easy. The prey had teeth, and they were not afraid to use them. Commander. Voran stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched his invasion fall apart. Red lights flashed on his tactical display. Each light was a unit taking fire. Each light was soldiers dying. In 43 conquests, he had never seen anything like this. Report, he demanded. His communications officer turned with fear in his 4 eyes. Ground forces are taking heavy casualties across all landing zones. The humans are not surrendering. They are attacking with coordinated strikes. Our forward units in the city called Seoul have lost contact. Voran clicked his long fingers against his chair. Impossible. They are primitives. They have no shields, no energy weapons. How are they killing our soldiers? They appear to have been preparing for war their entire existence, Commander. Our soldiers report traps, ambushes, and attacks from every direction. The humans fight without fear. On the ground in Seoul, Colonel Kong Jin-ho led his men through burning streets. Alien bodies lay scattered across the pavement. Their dark armor, which was supposed to stop any human weapon, had proven weaker than expected. It could stop 1 bullet. It could not stop 50. Keep moving, Jin-ho ordered. Push them back to their landing zone. Soldiers obeyed without hesitation. They were afraid? Yes. Any sane person would be afraid. But they were also angry. These creatures had come to their home. They had threatened their families. And now they would pay. Across the city, Choi Hannah pulled her fighter jet into a sharp climb. She was 28 years old, small and thin, with quick hands and quicker reflexes. Her squadron had been in the air since the first alien ships descended. 3 of her pilots were already dead, but so were 12 alien aircraft. The alien craft were faster in straight lines. They had better weapons. But they were designed for space combat, not for fighting in Earth's atmosphere. They moved in predictable patterns. They could not handle sharp turns, and they clearly had never faced pilots who had trained for dogfights since they were teenagers. Hannah locked onto an alien craft and fired. Her missiles struck its engine, and the ship spiraled into the Han River below. "This is Eagle 7, she reported. "Target destroyed." Moving to next engagement zone, her commander's voice crackled through the radio. "Copy, Eagle 7. Be advised, enemy reinforcements incoming from orbit. You are cleared to engage." Hannah smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a predator. Understood. "Let them come." Aboard the command ship, Cale reviewed the intelligence reports and felt his stomach turn. He was the Dominion's chief intelligence officer for this operation. It had been his job to assess Earth's threat level. He had classified them as minimal risk. He had been very, very wrong. "This makes no sense," he muttered, scrolling through data. "They have no unified government. They have dozens of competing nations. They were fighting each other just yesterday. How are they coordinating like this?" The answer came from a junior analyst. "Sir, we intercepted their communications. They have created something called a unified command structure. All their military forces are now operating under joint leadership. They stopped fighting each other the moment we arrived." Cale stared at the analyst. "In less than 6 hours?" "Yes, sir. They appear to have contingency plans for exactly this type of situation." "Contingency plans for alien invasion?" "No, sir. Contingency plans for war." "Any war against anyone?" "They simply redirected those plans toward us." Cale felt cold. The Dominion conquered peaceful species. Species that had evolved beyond violence. Species that saw war as primitive and wrong. They had never encountered a species that treated war as a normal part of existence. Until now. In a bunker beneath the mountains of South Korea, Park Yuna worked without sleep. Her eyes burned. Her hands shook from too much coffee. But she could not stop. She had found something important. The alien ships communicated through a central command signal. Every order, every coordination, every movement flowed through one source, Voron's flagship. If that signal was disrupted, even for a few minutes, the entire fleet would lose its ability to work together. She called General Lee Taiwu with her discovery. "How do we disrupt it?" Taiwu asked. "An electromagnetic pulse," Yuna explained. "A very large one. Close to the flagship. Our nuclear weapons could generate a pulse strong enough to overload their systems." "You want us to detonate nuclear weapons in orbit?" "Not just detonate them, General. We need to get them through their defenses first. That will require a coordinated attack. Fighter jets to clear a path, missiles to overwhelm their point defense, and then the nuclear strike to finish it." Taiwu was quiet for a long moment. "How many pilots will we lose?" Yuna closed her eyes. "Many, but if we succeed, we can break their coordination. Their ground forces will be isolated. We can destroy them piece by piece," Taiwu said. "Begin preparations immediately." On the streets of Moscow, Dominion soldiers retreated for the first time in their history. Human tanks rolled through the snow, their guns blazing. Human soldiers advanced from building to building, clearing aliens with grenades and bullets. In New York, the Dominion's landing zone burned. Human aircraft had bombed it relentlessly for 3 hours. The reinforcement ships could not land. In Beijing, human soldiers captured a downed alien vessel intact. Scientists were already cutting it open, studying its technology, learning its secrets. Commander Voron received report after report of failure. His ground forces were being pushed back everywhere. His air support was being shot down by primitive aircraft that should not have been a threat. His invasion was falling apart. "This is impossible," he whispered. His second officer approached carefully. "Commander, Perhaps we should request reinforcements from the Dominion home fleet and tell them what? That we are losing to primitives with chemical weapons. That species, without even basic space travel, is defeating the greatest military force in 3 sectors. The second officer said nothing. Vorin turned to look at Earth through the viewport. Such a small planet. Such fragile creatures. Yet they fought like nothing he had ever seen. What are these humans? He asked quietly. Kale appeared at his side with a datapad. I have been researching their history, Commander. I believe I understand now why we are failing. Explain. Kale activated the display. Images of human history appeared. Wars. Endless wars. Humans fighting humans with swords, with guns, with bombs. Trenches filled with bodies. Cities reduced to ash. Weapons designed to kill millions in seconds. They are a warrior species, Kale said. Their entire existence has been defined by conflict. They have fought each other for thousands of years. They have weapons designed to destroy their own planet. They have standing armies in every nation, trained soldiers in every city. They did not need to prepare for us, Commander. They have been preparing for war since their species began. Vorin stared at the images. A creature that spent its existence at war with itself. A planet where violence was not an exception, but the rule. We chose the wrong planet, he said. Before Kale could respond, alarms screamed across the bridge. Commander. The sensor officer shouted. Massive launch detected from the planet's surface. Hundreds of projectiles. They are nuclear weapons. They are heading directly for the fleet. Vorin's eyes widened. Point defense. Intercept them all? Sir, there are too many. An enemy aircraft are engaging our defensive positions. They are clearing a path. Vorin looked at the tactical display. The humans had launched everything they had. Every nuclear weapon on the planet was now flying toward his fleet, not to destroy them. The weapons were aimed at one target. His ship. All power to shields, Vorin ordered. Brace for impact. On Earth, General Lee Taiwu watched the missiles rise into the sky. Beside him, Beek Sunho prepared the communication array. They had captured alien technology. They had figured out how it worked. And now they would send a message. Not to the invaders, to the entire galaxy. The old general smiled grimly. Today we stop being prey, he said. Today we become the hunters. The missiles climbed higher into the darkness. Choi Hanna and her squadron flew beside them, fighting through alien defenses. Dying to clear the path, Earth was about to send a message that the galaxy would never forget. Choi Hanna flew into hell. All around her, the sky burned with weapons fire. Alien defense systems filled the darkness with deadly light. Ships exploded. Missiles detonated. Her radio screamed with the voices of dying pilots. I am going down. Eagle 9, eject. Eject now. They got Eagle 2. She is gone. Hannah pushed her jet harder, dodging beams of energy that could cut her aircraft in half. Behind her, the nuclear missiles climbed steadily toward their target. The alien flagship. The heart of the enemy fleet, she had started this mission with 12 pilots. Only 4 remained. Eagle Squadron, this is Eagle Leader, she said, her voice steady despite the chaos. Stay tight. Protect those missiles. We are almost there. A beam of light passed so close to her cockpit that she felt the heat through the glass. She rolled hard, fired her own missiles at the alien ship that had attacked her, and watched it explode. Eagle Leader, this is command. General Lee Taiwu's voice came through the radio. Status report. We have lost 8 aircraft, General. But the missiles are through the outer defense line. 30 seconds to target. Understood, Eagle Leader. All of Korea thanks you. All of Earth thanks you. Hana did not respond. She was too busy staying alive. Ahead of her, the alien flagship grew larger. It was massive, a mountain of dark metal hanging in space. Its shields glowed with power. Its weapons blazed at the incoming missiles. One by one, the nuclear warheads were destroyed, but not all of them. 3 missiles made it through. They struck the flagship's shields at the same moment. detonating with the combined force of 50 million tons of explosive. The shields held, but Park Una had been right about the electromagnetic pulse. A wave of energy washed over the alien fleet. Lights flickered. Systems crashed. For one precious minute, the Dominion ships lost contact with each other. Their perfect coordination shattered. Now, Taiwu ordered, "All forces, attack now." Across Earth, humanity struck with everything it had in the Pacific Ocean. Submarines launched cruise missiles at alien ground positions. In Europe, aircraft carpet-bombed enemy landing zones. In Asia, artillery batteries fired non-stop, pounding alien formations until nothing remained. Colonel Kong Jinho led the assault in Seoul. His soldiers advanced through smoke and fire, driving the confused alien troops back toward their crippled dropships. Without orders from their command ship, the Dominion soldiers did not know how to respond. They fought as individuals, not as a unit. And individually, they were no match for humans who had trained for war their entire lives. "Push forward," Gin Ho shouted. "Do not let them regroup." His soldiers obeyed. They fought through street after street, building after building. Alien soldiers fell by the dozens, by the hundreds, by the thousands. High above, Commander Vorin watched his display flicker back to life and felt true fear for the first time. "Damage report," he demanded. "Shields at 12%. His officer replied, voice shaking. "Main communication array destroyed. We have lost contact with 60% of our ground forces. Casualties are extreme. Commander, we are losing." Vorin could not believe what he was hearing. Losing 2 primitives. 2 creatures without shields or energy weapons. To a species that had been classified as easy prey. "Order a full retreat," he said quietly. "Sir, retreat." Vorin shouted, "All ships return to orbit. All ground forces, evacuation immediate. We are leaving this planet." For the first time in Dominion history, an invasion fleet ran from its target, but General Lee Taiwu was not finished in the captured alien vessel. Beek Sunho worked frantically at the communication console. He was young, only 25, with nervous hands and a brilliant mind. He had spent the last 6 hours learning how to operate alien technology. Now he was about to use it. "Is it ready?" Taiwu asked.
"Yes, General."
"This system can broadcast on every frequency the aliens use. The message will reach not just their fleet, but every species in the galaxy that uses this communication network." Taiwu nodded slowly. Senate Sunho activated the system. A camera pointed at the general's face. Across the stars, on T. Thousands of worlds, the transmission began. "This is General Lee Taiwu representing the United Nations of Earth. I speak to you, the Helix Dominion. And I speak to everyone else who is listening." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Your fleet came to our planet today. You called us primitive. You called us weak. You expected us to surrender. You expected easy prey." His eyes hardened. "You were wrong." Images appeared on the transmission. Footage of the battle. Alien soldiers dying in human crossfire. Alien ships falling from the sky. The nuclear detonation against the flagship. We are humanity. We have been fighting since before we had history. We fought with rocks and sticks. We fought with swords and spears. We fought with guns and bombs and weapons that could crack the planet in half. We fought each other because there was nothing else to fight. His voice rose. "But now you have given us a new enemy. You came to our home. You threatened our children. You tried to make us slaves. And you failed." The camera pulled back to show the bunker filled with military leaders from every nation. Americans and Russians, Chinese and Europeans. Former enemies standing shoulder to shoulder. "Look at us. Yesterday we were divided. Today we are one. You united us, Dominion. You gave us a common cause. You turned 7 billion individual humans into one species with one purpose." Taiwu leaned forward. "And that purpose is you." Behind him, screens showed Earth's remaining military forces. Tanks rolling across battlefields, jets screaming through the sky, soldiers raising their fists in victory. You are running now. Good, run far. Run fast. Tell everyone you meet what happened here today. Tell them about the planet that fought back. Tell them about the species that does not surrender. Tell them that we are coming. His final words echoed across the galaxy. We are humanity. We do not kneel. We do not break. We do not forget. You made us your enemy. We will be the last enemy you ever make. The transmission ended. Silence fell across 1,000 worlds in the retreating Dominion fleet. Commander Voran watched the message with growing horror. The humans had not just defeated his invasion. They had announced their existence to the entire galaxy. They had declared war not just on the Dominion, but on anyone who might threaten them. What have we done? He whispered. Behind him, Kale answered quietly. We woke them up, Commander. We showed them that there are enemies among the stars, and we taught them that they can win. On Earth, the sun rose on a changed world. The invasion was over. The aliens were gone. But nothing would ever be the same. Colonel Kong Jin-ho stood in the ruins of Seoul and looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, the enemy was running. But they would be back. Or others would come. The galaxy now knew that Earth existed. And the galaxy would not forget. Choi Hannah landed her damaged jet and climbed out on shaking legs. 8 of her pilots were dead. But the mission had succeeded. The enemy was broken. Park Yuna emerged from her bunker and breathed fresh air for the first time in 20 hours. She had helped save the world, but her work was just beginning. Somewhere in the captured alien ship was technology that could change everything. Faster than light travel, energy weapons, shields. Humanity had been given a gift, the gift of knowledge. The gift of power, and humanity intended to use it. General Lee. Taiwu watched the final Dominion ships vanish into the darkness of space. He was tired. His bones ached. But in his heart burned a fire that would not die. They will return, he said, to no one in particular. Or others will come. We must be ready. He turned to face his officers. Begin reverse engineering their technology. Build ships. Train soldiers. Prepare for war. The officers saluted and hurried away. Taiwu looked up at the stars one last time. Somewhere out there, an entire galaxy had just learned about humanity. Some would fear them. Some would hate them. Some might even want to help them. But all of them would remember this day. The day the prey became the predator. The day Earth declared war on the stars. And the day humanity began its rise. The message from Earth spread through the galaxy like fire through dry grass. THRN watched it for the 5th time in her observation chamber aboard the Galactic Council station. She was old by her species standards, with silver scales and tired eyes that had witnessed the rise and fall of empires. For 80 cycles, she had served as the Council's official observer, documenting the affairs of civilizations across the stars. She had never seen anything like this. Play it again, she said to her assistant. The recording showed the human general's face. Hard eyes, gray hair, a voice that carried absolute certainty. We are humanity. We do not kneel. We do not break. We do not forget. Thren paused the recording. How many species has the Dominion conquered? She asked her assistant check the records. 43 confirmed, observer. None have ever successfully repelled an invasion, until now.
Oh no.
Thren leaned back in her chair and tried to understand what she was seeing. The Helix Dominion was not just any empire. They were conquerors of legend. Their fleet had crushed civilizations with technology far beyond anything Earth possessed. They had defeated species with energy shields and plasma weapons, and ships that could crack moons, and they had lost 2 creatures who still used chemical rockets. Pull up the human homeworld data. Thren ordered. Images appeared on her screen. A small blue planet orbiting a yellow star. 7 billion inhabitants. Technology level classified as pre-space. They had not even established permanent colonies on their own moon yet. They should not have survived, her assistant said quietly. The mathematics do not make sense. Thren agreed. They do not. But the Dominion fleet was running. Their casualties were catastrophic. And somewhere on that small blue planet, humans were already tearing apart captured alien ships, learning secrets that had taken other species thousands of years to discover. Thren felt something she had not felt in decades. Uncertainty? What happens now? Her assistant asked. Now we watch. And we prepare. Because something new has entered the galaxy. And I do not think it will be peaceful. Across the stars, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from 200 species crowded into the Great Chamber, their voices rising in argument and fear. They must be destroyed, shouted the delegate from the Kareth Collective. A species this violent cannot be allowed to develop. They will become a threat to everyone. And how do you propose we destroy them? Another delegate replied. The Dominion could not do it. Would you send your own fleet to try? Perhaps we should approach them peacefully, suggested a smaller delegate. Offer them alliance, trade, knowledge. Better to have them as friends than enemies. Laughter filled the chamber. Friends. Did you watch the recording? They declared war on the Dominion. They declared war on anyone who threatens them. This is not a species that wants friends. This is a species that wants blood. Arguments continued for hours. Some wanted to contain humanity on their planet, prevent them from ever reaching the stars. Others wanted to welcome them into galactic civilization, hoping that peace and prosperity would calm their violent nature. But most were simply afraid, because they had seen the recordings. They had watched humans fight. They had heard the general's words, and they understood something that the Dominion had learned too late. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was something far more dangerous. A predator that had been caged on one small world for its entire existence. A predator that had finally been shown there were other things to hunt. And now the cage was open. On the Dominion homeworld, Commander Vorin stood before the High Command and gave his report. His shame burned like acid in his veins. We underestimated them, he admitted. Our intelligence classified them as Class 7 primitives. We expected no resistance. We were wrong. The Supreme Commander's voice was cold. You failed, Vorin. You had the greatest invasion fleet in 3 sectors. You lost 2 creatures who do not even have basic shields. As Supreme Commander, what happened? Vorin hesitated. How could he explain what he had seen? How could he describe a species that fought without logic, without reason, without any hope of victory, yet somehow won anyway? They are warriors, he said finally. Not like us. We fight because we want power. We want resources. We want territory. Humans fight because they cannot stop fighting. It is who they are. Their entire history is war. They have weapons designed to destroy their own world. They have spent their existence perfecting the art of killing. And when we arrived, they simply turned all of that hatred toward us. The Supreme Commander was silent for a long moment. Can they be defeated? Vorin thought about the question. Could humanity be defeated? Perhaps, with overwhelming force. With the entire Dominion fleet, with weapons that could sterilize their planet from orbit, but at what cost? Yes, he said slowly, but they will not surrender. They will not flee. They will fight until every last one of them is dead. And by the time we finish killing them, we will have lost more ships, more soldiers, more resources than we have lost in all our previous conquests combined. Are they worth it? Vorin remembered the human general's face, the cold certainty in his eyes, the promise of vengeance in his words. No, Vorin admitted. They are not worth it. The Supreme Commander nodded. Then we will leave them alone. But watch them, Vorin. Watch them closely. Because if they reach the stars, they will come for us. Far from the centers of power, on a frozen moon where the Dominion kept its slaves, a young female named Nira heard the news. She was small and thin, with blue skin and large eyes that had never seen a free sky. Her people had been conquered 4 generations ago. She had been born in chains. She would die in chains. That was the way of things. But today something had changed. "Oh, did you hear?" whispered another slave, pressing close in the darkness of their sleeping quarters. A planet fought back. They beat the Dominion. They actually won. Nira had heard. Everyone had heard. The guards had tried to suppress the news, but it spread anyway. Through whispers. Through hope. A planet called Earth, a species called humans. They had been attacked. They had refused to surrender. And they had won. "Does not matter," another slave said bitterly. "Even if it is true, what difference does it make to us? We are still here. We are still slaves." But Nira was not so sure. She had listened to the human general's message. She had heard his words. "We do not kneel. We do not break. We do not forget." Something stirred in her chest. Something she had never felt before. It took her a long moment to recognize it. Hope. If one species could defeat the Dominion, perhaps others could too. Perhaps the slaves did not have to stay slaves forever. Perhaps the chains could be broken. She looked up at the dark ceiling and imagined the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, on a tiny blue planet, creatures were building ships, learning secrets, preparing for war. And they were angry. Nira smiled for the first time in years. They said they were coming, she whispered to herself. They said they do not forget. Maybe they will come here. Maybe they will remember us. It was a foolish hope, a dream that could never come true. But she held on to it anyway. 1 year later, Dominion border sensors detected something impossible, a ship, moving at faster than light speed, but not using any known technology. The design was crude, ugly, brutally efficient. It looked like it had been built in a hurry by people who did not care about elegance, only function. The ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Dominion territory. Its weapons were already active. Its shields were already raised, and it broadcast a message that made Dominion commanders across the sector freeze in their seats. "This is the Earth vessel Defiance. We told you we were coming. The war had begun. And this time, humanity was not defending. This time, humanity was hunting. 1 year. That was all it took. 1 year for humanity to crack the secrets of alien technology. 1 year to build ships that could cross the stars. 1 year to transform from a species that had never left its own planet into a force that would shake the galaxy." Admiral Kong Ginho stood on the bridge of the Defiance and watched the stars streak past. He was no longer the colonel who had fought in the streets of Seoul. The war had changed him, made him harder, made him colder, made him exactly what humanity needed. "Status report." He ordered. His tactical officer responded immediately. "All systems operational, Admiral. We are approaching the Dominion border outpost. Enemy ships detected. 3 destroyers, 2 cruisers, 1 station. Their response? They are transmitting warnings on all frequencies. They want us to turn back." Jinho smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Send them our reply." The Defiance broadcast a single message. The same words that had echoed across the galaxy 1 year ago, the words that had become humanity's war cry. "We do not kneel. We do not break. We do not forget." The Dominion ships opened fire. The battle lasted 7 minutes. Human ships were ugly. Everyone agreed on that. They looked like weapons with engines attached. No grace, no elegance. Just function. They were built by engineers who had studied the sleek Dominion vessels and decided that beauty was wasteful. Every inch of a human ship was designed for one purpose: to kill, and they were very good at it. Jinho watched the Dominion destroyers burn and felt nothing but cold satisfaction. Each destroyed ship was revenge for every pilot who had died defending Earth. Each explosion was justice for every nation that had been threatened. Border. "Outpost eliminated," his tactical officer reported. "Minimal damage to our fleet. Enemy survivors are retreating toward the inner systems." "Let them run," Ginho said. "Let them tell the others, we are here." The fleet moved deeper into Dominion space. Behind them, the ruins of the outpost drifted in the darkness. a warning to everyone who might be watching. The wolves had arrived. On the bridge of her fighter carrier, Choi Hannah reviewed the mission briefings for the next phase of the campaign. She had changed too in the past year. The nervous young pilot was gone. In her place stood a commander who had seen her friends die and had sworn that their deaths would not be meaningless. Squadron leaders. "Report to the briefing room," she announced. Her pilots gathered quickly. Men and women from every nation on Earth. They had trained together, bled together, buried friends together. They were no longer Korean or American or Russian. They were human, and they were at war. "Our target is the Dominion supply station at Grid 7, Hannah began. "Intelligence says they are using it to resupply their occupation forces on 3 nearby worlds. We are going to destroy it." She paused, looking at each face. "But we have a secondary objective. There are slaves on those worlds. People who have been in chains for generations. When the station falls, we are going in to free them." One of the pilots raised a hand. "Admiral Jinho approved this?" "Admiral Jinho ordered this," Hannah replied. "Our mission is not just to defeat the Dominion. Our mission is to burn them so completely that no species will ever fear them again. And that means freeing every world they have conquered, every slave they have taken, every soul they have broken." The pilots nodded. They understood. This war was not just about revenge. It was about justice. "Prepare for launch," Hannah ordered. "We move in 6 hours. The science bay of the Defiance." Park Yuna ran tests on the latest captured technology. She had not slept more than 4 hours in any day for the past year. There was too much to learn, too much to understand. Human engineers had taken Dominion technology and made it better, stronger, more efficient. They had combined alien science with human creativity and produced weapons that the galaxy had never seen. But Una was not satisfied. She wanted more. She wanted to understand every secret, unlock every mystery, give humanity every advantage possible. Dr. Park, her assistant, called. "We have decrypted the Dominion communication logs you requested." Una looked up from her work. "What did you find?" "Coordinates. Dozens of worlds under Dominion control. Slave populations. Military installations. Supply routes." The assistant paused. "And something else. A planet called Theros. According to these records, it is where the Dominion keeps their most valuable prisoners. Political leaders, scientists, anyone who might inspire resistance." Una felt her heart quicken. "Send this to Admiral Jinho immediately. If we can free those prisoners, we could start rebellions across Dominion space." The information was transmitted. Plans began to form. The war was expanding. Far away on the frozen moon where Nira lived, the slaves watched the sky with growing excitement. News had reached them of human ships in Dominion space, of battles won, of outposts destroyed. They were coming. Just like they had promised. They were coming. How much longer? Nira asked another slave. "I do not know, but they are getting closer. Every day, they are getting closer." Nira looked up at the stars and waited. She had held on to hope for a year now. She could hold on longer. The moment came 3 weeks later. Human ships dropped out of hyperspace above the frozen moon. Dominion defense forces scrambled to respond, but they were too slow, too surprised, too afraid. Admiral Jinho watched the battle from the Defiance with cold eyes. His ships cut through the enemy like fire through paper. In less than an hour, every Dominion vessel in the system was destroyed or fleeing. "Deploy ground forces," he ordered. "Free the slaves." Human soldiers descended to the moon's surface. They wore heavy armor and carried weapons that could punch through walls. They moved in perfect coordination, clearing buildings and destroying Dominion guards with brutal efficiency. Nira heard the fighting from her cell. She heard the screams of guards, the thunder of explosions, the sound of chains breaking, and then the door opened. A human soldier stood there, weapon raised. He was tall, covered in metal armor, his face hidden behind a dark visor. He looked terrifying. "Are you hurt?" he asked. His voice was surprisingly gentle. Nayar could not speak. She could only shake her head. The soldier reached up and removed his helmet. Underneath was the face of a young man with kind eyes and a tired smile. "My name is Lee Minho," he said. "I am from Earth. You are free now." Tears streamed down Nira's face. She had hoped for so long. She had dreamed for so long. And now, finally, it was real. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you." Minho nodded and helped her to her feet. "Can you walk? We need to get you to the evacuation ships." Yes, I can walk." As she left the cell, Nira saw other slaves emerging from their prisons. Hundreds of them. Thousands. All looking at the human soldiers with the same expression of disbelief and gratitude. One elderly slave fell to his knees before. "Minho, we have been waiting for generations," he said. "We never stopped hoping. We knew someone would come." Minho helped the old male stand. "We are sorry it took so long, but we are here now. And we will not leave until every slave is free." The news spread faster than any ship could travel. The humans were not just fighting the Dominion. They were freeing the slaves. Every world they conquered, every system they captured, they opened the chains and set the prisoners free. On the Galactic Council station, Thren watched the reports with something approaching awe. "They are not conquerors," she said to her assistant. "They do not want territory or resources. They want liberation." "Why?" her assistant asked. "What do they gain?" Thren thought about the question for a long moment. She had studied thousands of species in her long career. She had seen empires rise and fall. She understood the mathematics of power, the logic of conquest, the reasons why civilizations went to war. But this was different. "They gain nothing," she said finally. "Nothing tangible anyway. They do it because they believe it is right. They fight for others because they remember what it felt like to be attacked. They free slaves because they refuse to let others suffer what they almost suffered." She paused, choosing her next words carefully. "They are not conquering the galaxy, assistant. They are saving it." The war continued for 3 more years. System by system, world by world, the Dominion retreated. Their empire, built on slavery and fear, crumbled before an enemy that could not be bribed, could not be intimidated, could not be stopped. On the final day, Admiral Kung Jin Ho received the Dominion's surrender aboard the Defiance. The Supreme Commander himself knelt before the human admiral, his proud race finally broken. "We should have left you alone," the Supreme Commander said. "We should have never come to your planet." Jin-Ho nodded slowly. "Yes, you should have. What will you do with us now?" Jin-Ho looked at the defeated alien for a long moment. He thought of all the worlds the Dominion had conquered, all the species they had enslaved, all the suffering they had caused, and then he thought of what it meant to be human. "We will not destroy you," he said. "We will not enslave you. That is not who we are." The Supreme Commander looked up in surprise. "You will be free," Jin-Ho continued, "but you will never be allowed to make war again. You will live, but your empire is finished, and you will remember this day forever. The day you learned that there are worse things in the galaxy than predators. There are species that protect the weak, species that fight for justice, species that will cross the stars to punish those who harm the innocent." He leaned forward. "We are humanity, and we are watching." Years later, Thren completed her final report to the Galactic Council. It was the last document she would ever write, the culmination of her life's work as an observer. The species known as humanity entered galactic society as victims of an invasion. They emerged as liberators of the oppressed. In less than 5 years, they dismantled the largest military empire in 3 sectors and freed over 2 billion slaves. She paused, searching for the right words. They were supposed to be prey. They became the predators. But more than that, they became something the galaxy has never seen before. As champions, protectors, wolves who hunt other wolves to defend the sheep. She ended with a warning and a hope. Do not threaten humanity. Do not attack their home. Do not harm those they protect. Because they do not forgive. They do not forget. And they will find you, no matter how far you run. But if you need help, if you are suffering, If you have lost hope, look to the stars. Listen for their message, because somewhere out there, humans are watching, and they will come. On Earth, in a quiet park in Seoul, an old man sat on a bench and watched children play. Kang Jin-ho had retired from the military years ago. The war was over. The galaxy was at peace, but he still watched the stars at night. He still listened to the reports from distant worlds. He still remembered the day the invaders came. A young child ran up to him. "Grandfather, were you really in the war?" Jin-ho smiled and lifted the child onto his lap. "Yes, I was there." "What was it like?" He looked up at the sky, at the stars that now held friends instead of enemies. "Terrifying," he admitted, "but also wonderful, because we learned something important that day." Jin-ho hugged his grandchild close. "We learned that we are never alone. And we learned that no matter how small we are, no matter how scared we feel, we can always fight back. We can always stand up. We can always protect each other." He pointed at the stars. "That is what it means to be human. And now, the whole galaxy knows it." The child smiled and looked up at the sky with wide, wondering eyes. And somewhere, among the stars, humanity watched over its new family. The wolves were still there, still guarding, still waiting forever.